what can I do with this stress to make me better, to grow, to approach it head on? I know I'm gonna be uncomfortable. I know I don't wanna do it. I know, and then overcome it, and that weight is lifted off your shoulders. What is happening, my friends? Happy whatever day it is to you. Welcome back to the Inside Influence podcast, aka the Morning Takeaway podcast, whatever podcast you want to call it. But today I want to talk about fitness. And I'm going to talk about a specific topic in fitness. Obviously, that's what I am involved in on a daily basis. It's a topic that I think is so applicable in so many ways to all areas of life. So I don't want to bore you with just one fitness topic. And if there is things in fitness that you want me to do podcasts on, and let's talk weight loss and the best hacks for weight loss or whatever it might be, then let me know. But I want to talk more specifically on a principle of fitness and how I had this revelation that it just relates to life in general. So let's do it. I don't know what I'm piddle-paddling around for, but in fitness, in exercise, in growth, there's this principle called progressive overload. And if you've been strength training, if you've followed any of my programs on my app, you know that I harp on progressive overload. If you talk to any strength trainer, personal trainer, coach, they will probably mention this topic. And for those of you that don't know what progressive overload is, progressive overload literally means overloading progressively. But what does that mean? It means, and let's take lifting for example, it means adding load or weight, resistance or weight or bands, or more sets, more reps, maybe less reps with more weight, decreasing your rest time, all with the idea of changing the stimulus on your body so that your body can grow. Now, an example of that, let's say we have 4 sets of 10 on a bench press, or 4 sets of 10, 8, 6, 4. A lot of times in a strength program, you'll see that decreasing number of reps, and that's essentially hinting at like, hey, increase the weight each set. That would be an example of progressive overload. Another example would be 4 sets of 10 on week 1. Let's say you track your weights and you do 4 sets of 10 bench press at 135 pounds. Well, next week at 4 sets of 10, it's going to call for progressive overload. Let's up that weight from 135 pounds at 10 reps for 4 sets to 145 pounds or whatever, right? It's changing the stimulus on your muscle so that it can break down and repair and grow in a beneficial way. Now, I got to thinking about that, and I started expanding on the stress of life and how if only we could add more weight, theoretical quote-unquote weight, to our lives. Stress can be looked at as progressive overload. And how do we increase the progressive overload of our lives? Well, it's adding one task to our day. It might feel like a little extra. It might feel like we're getting out of our comfort zone. And essentially, like I struggle sometimes to think whether or not are we scared of exercise or are we scared of putting ourselves in that uncomfortable position because we don't know what's going to happen, right? And ultimately, if we can put ourselves in those uncomfortable situations voluntarily, well, chances are we're going to surprise ourselves and come out on the end, on the other side, with some kind of growth, some kind of learning, whether it's, hey, wow, I did really great at that, or hey, I sucked at that, or wow, I could have done this better and gotten to this outcome, right? There's all types of ways that we can break down whatever circumstance that you put yourself into. But the idea here, and just to backtrack a little, would be adding more progressive overload to our life would be adding something daily into a routine. Maybe it's something that you don't want to do. Waking up early is the easiest one to to use because no one likes waking up early, unless you're like me and I love it, and I have found joy in knowing that I'm waking up early to get a head start on my day, right? Well, let's use that as an example. You wake up at 6 a.m. That's really hard for 90% of the population. Well, if you do that, you have just put some kind of resistance on your life. And if you overcome that, and you start overcoming that every single day, well, that stimulus response will start to deteriorate. It'll start to become a norm. It'll become normal to you. And for that matter, progressive overload of life would have served its purpose. So then you start to add on one by one what's another daily task, and habit stacking. We can take whatever it might be, whether it's, when I go to sit down and read my book in the morning, I'm going to have my protein shake too. Now I'm getting a head start on my protein goals and my mental game, right? There's all kinds of different things that we can utilize to be efficient with our time as well as progress forward. But the main point here, and if I lost you on some craziness, I'm sorry, but the main idea here is that if we can add that voluntary progression into our life, and essentially, for a lack of a better way to put it, look at stressors as the overload, well, I challenge you to take that stress, see it as overload, and say, hey, what can I do with this stress to make me better, to grow, to approach it head on? I know I'm going to be uncomfortable. I know I don't want to do it. I know, and then overcome it, and that weight is lifted off your shoulders. And through that process, you've grown. You've become more confident. You've become, whatever the case may be, you've come out on the other side with more instead of, and I like to think of this in this particular example, especially, procrastination is the enemy of all things productive. And the more that we have those things that sit on our shoulder, and the more we have that progressive overload of stress in life just sitting there and not being moved, the more it will compound onto us to feel like it's impossible until we approach it head on, until we look at that 405 pounds on the back of on the bar to put on your back and ultimately descend into that squat, knowing that the safety bars are there, and if you fail, you will still be safe, right? If I fail, I can learn, well, maybe I wasn't warmed up correctly. Maybe I'm just not strong enough today. Or maybe I need to implement this into my program, right? It's all things that we can relate back to life and how we can learn from the different circumstances we go through. And I think a lot of that has to do with having a voluntary outlook on the things that we take on in our day and the involuntary things that maybe we don't sign up for, but we're able to see those things as an opportunity to grow in progressive overload of life. So I feel like that is pretty much what I wanted to get across, and obviously I'm not rambling on for too long, but hopefully you're able to take something away that's just kind of, again, how my brain works. But I feel the need to share this kind of stuff because it's these different little life analogies that have hit me that maybe somebody else made, or about another topic or another analogy that relates to me, and a lot of why I look at the world the way I do, and I'm able to take these analogies and try to relate them to life and find something. So I hope that you were able to do the same. So if I said something, please share this with somebody you think it might be impactful, even if it's just explaining what progressive overload is in fitness. But again on the idea of fitness relating to everything, it is so easy to translate fitness to life, to finances, to relationships, to anything. Because if we take care of one thing at a time in fitness, if you keep showing up, your body is going to look the way you want it to over time. If you keep showing up, your mind is going to feel clearer and clearer and clearer, right? It's the same idea as finances. If I put a penny in the bank every single day with some kind of interest rate and keep doing those things, we look at the things that we consistently do on a daily basis as the interest rate. Well, over time it's going to compound, and before you know it, there's 100 pennies in there, right? And it's so applicable to all things life. But that's all I've got for you today. I hope you do not forget to like this video, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you're the first one to see my videos here on the Tube of the U. I will see you next time. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.